Welcome to Bet on It NFL edition powered by wagertalk.com. I am Kelly Stewart, and we've got a plethora of primetime games for you. We got some TNA from Ralph Michaels, some Prop Shop with Andy Lang. We're going to figure out how high Joe is this week. Is the deli back open? And, of course, some of those barking dogs. Little lesson plan from Las Vegas Cris. That one's a tongue twister. And, of course, some gold from VR, all followed up by some best bets for NFL Week 15. Marco D'Angelo, Joe Raineri. We're going to get right into this because we have 4 primetime games this week. Starting off with Thursday night, we have the LA Chargers, sans Justin Herbert, at the Las Vegas Raiders. They are a 3-point favorite, total 34.
Kelly, this may be the shortest analysis I'm going to ever give you on a primetime game because this is an absolute stink bomb of a game between the Raiders and the Chargers. You got the Raiders coming off that epic 3-0 battle that they lost, and you've got the Chargers who have scored a grand total of 13 points in the last 2 weeks. Now, Justin Herbert got hurt last week and is out, and that's where I'm going to go with this play. We're going to go with the injured player theory for the Chargers. I mean, what else can you do here? Maybe they get a spark bringing the backup in. I had to look up where he is from. North Dakota State is where he played college football. Hopefully he can score enough points in this game to get it done. If I play this game at all, Kelly, because it is such a low-scoring game, there is only one way I can look to the dog, and I will look to get as many points as I can get with that dog. I could see me adding some teasers with the Chargers on Thursday. It's the Chargers or pass. Could be a pass for me. I lean Chargers on Thursday night. And I will not be ugly. I will not be this game.
No, you don't want to waste your time? It's just not enjoyable for you? What kind of fan are you, Marco?
None. Not
one. A lot of fans. Yeah. Joe Raineri, I agree with Marco. If this one does drop down, Chargers are in an excellent spot here with this very low total to tease this game. Couple of things. I cannot trust the Raiders as favorites. Bottom line, I think offensively they are very abysmal. And here is a Chargers team that I'm still trying to figure out 15 weeks in how Brandon Staley has a job.
Yeah, and it's ironically enough, we saw this game way back when, I remember too, because I think I had the under in this game when they first met, and Aiden O'Connell in his first start turned it over, 2-3 times inside his own 20-yard line there, giving the Chargers a short field and, of course, the opportunity to get some points. But what a difference a couple of months makes here. The reality is both these teams still blow. I have no idea where the points are coming from here. I do believe there are some injury concerns, not just with the Chargers, but, of course, with the Raiders as well. Not sure who's going to be running the ball for them. I don't know how you bounce back from a game in which you lost 3-0, but that's kind of what we have on a short week with a new quarterback. It's a primetime game, so let's not overthink this one. It's either under or pass for me, or pick a team total and go under that as well, because there's no way I can count on either of these offenses to do enough to be able to be comfortable in betting any sort of over in this game.
Saturday prime time, a game I was supposed to be at, but the Broncos started to suck so bad, and then they decided to get good, and now flights are too expensive for me to fly to Detroit, and frankly, it's too cold. Denver, 5.5-point underdog. Total 47.5. The Lions, oh boy, the world is crashing down around them. What are they ever going to do? Just in time, Denver comes to town. I kind of lean the Lions here, Joe. What do you make of this game?
Yeah, so I love the Lions here, but I love the over even more here, Cal. I think this is all about matchups here, and the matchups favor both offenses, not just Detroit here, but I think both offenses. 47.5, it was 46.5. It is starting to creep up here, but the reality is no defense in the NFL gives up bigger plays, explosive plays to the running game, quite like the Broncos defense does. And wouldn't you know it, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have himself a field day with this game. You know what else they're not very good at, the Broncos? covering tight ends. Sam Laporta happens to be one of the best targets of Jared Goff there indoors. And yes, he is going to get a ton of use. But on the flip side there, you know the one thing the Detroit defense doesn't do really well? They don't cover running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. And guess what Denver does better than just about anybody else? That's correct. Throw the ball to the running backs, get the screen game going, get a bunch of chunk yards. This is going to be a track meet. It's one that I have to think the Lions will win, but make no mistake about it. This thing has got overwritten all over it from these two offenses, and that's exactly the way I'm going to play it.
Marco, this one is one of those, I wouldn't call it a system play. I wouldn't auto bet it. But whenever a team is off a road win and then has another road game, we know those are kind of fade situations here. Now, this one's ticked up to 5.5. I don't think we see a 6, but we might. And typically those 5.5 point underdogs are a team that I want to back. But I don't trust this Broncos team. While albeit I did get the nice cover and outright win last week, plus the teaser, that was most likely because Justin Herbert went down. Help me break down this game in Detroit.
Yeah, and it didn't hurt that Brandon Staley in a 0-0 game on the second drive of the game decides to go on 4th and 3 inside, the 6-yard line and come up empty. You know, you only scored 6 points the week before. It's 0-0. Shove that analytic chart where the sun doesn't shine. You got to put the first points on the board. But that's for a discussion on another day. Let's talk about the Lions. Everybody wants to know what's wrong with the Lions. You know what's wrong with the Lions? They have played a murderous schedule. They went the week before, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, they go out to the West Coast, play the Chargers in that epic 41-38 shootout. They come back home, play a division game against the Bears, who they played them when they had their annual Thanksgiving Day game 4 days later. Tough scheduling spot, returning from the West Coast, playing a division rival on a Sunday. You've got your big national televised game on Thanksgiving Day against another division rival, Green Bay. Yeah, and what happened? They almost lost to Chicago, and then they did lose to Green Bay. Now they go on the road, bounce back against the Saints, and then have that quick revenge game with Chicago in which they absolutely stunk. And Jared Goff showed that he doesn't like going to Chicago. He had flashbacks from a few years back when he was with the Rams. They're going to be just fine, and they're going to feast on a Denver team that I know has played well, has won, 6 of the last 7 games. They had the 5-game winning streak, but during that winning streak, they were on the plus side of the wins, 18-4 turnovers in those wins. That's not going to happen unless Jared Goff throws interception after interception again. I don't think he does that this week. I think they score early and often. I think Detroit gets back on track. You've got Denver, not only Kelly playing back-to-back games on the road. This is actually their 3rd straight road game, something you don't see that often in the NFL anymore. I'm going to go ahead, take the Lions, and you should have went there. If you want to bet the Lions, you could have rooted them in, but you can go ahead and say the real reason. The Lions are kind of dead to you after what they did to you. You can admit it. You wouldn't want to go see the Lions because you might have got Johnny Detroit barred from Ford Field.
That's probably also fair. I mean, it's cold right now. I don't want to go anywhere where it's cold. It's not a fun time, right? When you scream the F word every time you walk around a building until you get to the next building and the wind stops. It's just not a great place for me to be. All right, Sunday primetime game. Baltimore is headed to Jacksonville. And I can't believe I'm not headed to Jacksonville. Ariel Epstein and I really dropped the ball here. Ravens are a 3.5 point favorite, total 43.5. I don't think I'm going to get involved in this game, Marco. I'm going to actively keep cheering for my 20-1 ticket here on the Ravens so that somehow when they get there, Ariel and I can actually afford the Super Bowl tickets.
Have you looked at what the Super Bowl tickets are here in Vegas? I looked the other day. The tickets are going for like $8,000. Yeah.
That's my point. So I have a dime at 20-1. I'm going to have to hedge $10,000 so that I can go watch my 20-1 ticket in person. That's literally what's going to happen here. I am very aware how much these tickets are.
All right, Kelly. Yeah, I'm looking at this one. Both teams need to win. There's no question about that. But Baltimore's got a bigger cushion, okay? Baltimore needs to win as far as jockeying position because they're trying to vie to get the number 1 seed. That's what they're going for. They've got the AFC North. I'm sorry, nobody's catching Baltimore. They're good. And I'm going to cash my Baltimore ticket to make the playoffs and win the division rather easily. For Jacksonville, all of a sudden, what a couple weeks ago looked like a slam dunk for them, they've got 2 teams breathing down their backs, and they are surprise teams in Indianapolis and Houston. So they've only got a 1-game lead. You look at the last 2 weeks, they lost to Cincinnati, lost to Cleveland. Last week, give them credit. You know, after that Monday night loss, and Trevor Lawrence, when he went down, I thought he broke his leg the way he was slamming his helmet on the turf on that Monday night game. And here he comes back and plays in Cleveland in the cold. That couldn't have been fun with, you know, the high ankle sprain and everything else. But he played. He threw the football 50 times. Wasn't his best game, but I give him credit for even being out there. And that was against a very good defense and a good pass rush. They had 4 turnovers in the game and still only lost by 4 points. I think they right the ship at home this week against Baltimore. Baltimore was lucky to get the win last week against the Rams. They had to come from behind. They had to go to overtime, and it took a punt return to get the job done. Yes, Baltimore may be the best team in the AFC. We'll see. They're one of the best, but I think this is just a spot that you've got to go with Jacksonville. They're getting points at home. Kelly, I'm going to pull your playbook out. Primetime, home dog, got need, everything's there. This game got flexed into the Sunday night game. What else could you ask for? And let's not forget, the last time they were on primetime, they were embarrassed losing to Cincinnati.
And that's kind of my caveat here. I want to love Jacksonville in this spot, but they are just 2-4 straight up and against the spread at home this year. I think if you like the Ravens, you don't overthink it. You take the Ravens in the first half. We have seen them choke away so many second half leads that it's not worth your drama. Just bet it in the first half and do what Joe does. Have a bourbon.
If it ain't broke, they ain't fixing that routine. I'll tell you that right now. So here's what we have in this game, Cal. I was a little confused when this thing opened up from a total perspective, because when I first saw the total and I saw 40.5 Sunday night when it opened up, and I'm going, is this game in Baltimore? Maybe the weather, we're going to have snow, it's going to be, maybe the weather. No, this game is in Jacksonville. Why in the hell is this number so low? We just watched Lamar and company do their thing, right, against the Rams. We also watched the Rams in not ideal conditions light up this defense. They lost their center fielder there, Kyle Hamilton, with a sprained MCL, the Ravens defense did. He's listed as week to week, but they do have the 49ers on deck, so I'm not quite sure exactly how much they're going to push him. The bottom line is I think the Ravens defense can absolutely be thrown on. We also know the Jags, the way they play defense, they make you have to pass the ball. They're not going to let you run all over them. There's opportunities for the passing game. And that's exactly what Baltimore can do better than they've ever been able to do. So call me crazy here in this spot. Yes, it's a primetime game. We know all about the unders. But I don't see this game going under. I think these two quarterbacks are so much better than 75% of the quarterback play, which is suppressed scoring this year, because most other quarterbacks that we're watching, especially in prime time, they suck. These two don't. I think the ankle is going to be fine for Trevor Lawrence. I do think this thing is going to turn into way more than 42.5 or 43 points here. It is starting to creep up. I agree with that move from the open of 40.5. There is no way I am looking at any under in this game. I would only look at the over.
All right, and the Monday night primetime game, have the wheels fallen off of Philadelphia Eagles? Some people would like to know. They are a 4-point favorite at Seattle, total 47.5. Joe, I'm going to kick it back to you. Seattle, just not a good football team right now. They have a lot of issues, namely having an unhealthy starting quarterback. So now this line is telling me that Gino's probably going to be playing. Am I correct there?
Yes, you are. And it appears that, well, listen, don't forget, reports are he could have went in that game against the 49ers. He was warming up. He was thrown on the sideline. So there should not be an issue with the groin or whatever the hell that was that he tripped over at practice. And we didn't find out till Friday. But whatever that is, it appears to be not going to prevent him from playing. But you know what else you mentioned? They're maybe not a great football team, but you know what they are? They're a desperate football team right now because they can't lose any more games. They have to win this game. And now they're taking on an Eagles team. Well, can we just look? And we knew this was coming. We talked about this in the beginning of the season. This stretch of games for the Eagles has been absolutely ridiculous. And it's certainly starting to take its toll here now, right? Turning the ball over. They look like a team that has been run through the gauntlet, and they're starting to run out of gas. If this was in Philadelphia, I'd feel better about Philly. But now they got to go into a place that historically has not been great for teams like Philadelphia at this point to go into as a favorite here. A desperate Seattle team with Pete Carroll, who obviously they've got a lot of weapons. I mean, if Drew Lock can cover the number last week and do what he did against the 49ers, Geno Smith had the game of his life, the best game of the season, the week prior against Dallas in that primetime game. This is also, to me, shaping up to be a hell of an over. But to me, this is not a great spot for Philadelphia again, going up against a desperate Seahawks team with the 12th man. Give me Seattle, or I'm passing in this one here. I'll take the points with Geno under center.
I know we cannot quantify desperateness there, Marco, but wouldn't you kind of say the Eagles, who have dropped 2 straight to other NFC teams, might also be desperate?
They're definitely also desperate, and they got to be questioning because they were winning games. We said smoke and mirrors, all those games that we were lining up with big bets against them and not cashing tickets that we should have. Well, finally caught up with them. And you know what, Joe? It's funny. You and I were thinking the same way, thinking about the home dog here with Seattle and thinking about the over. You settled in on the home dog. I settled in on the over. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you know what is broke? The Philadelphia defense right now. They have been getting lit up week after week. They gave up 34, 42, 33 the last 3 weeks. Now, Seattle's not the offensive juggernaut that the teams that they have been facing are, but they still can move the football. And on the flip side, Seattle's not the Dallas defense, okay? They're going to give up their yardage and points as well. I think both teams go up and down the field. If you had the over on Sunday night with Dallas and Philadelphia, I feel sorry for you. Not that sorry, because I actually had the under, but I'll tell you, I was very lucky to win that under. If Philadelphia doesn't turn the ball over how many times in scoring position, that thing sails over the number. Look for a shootout on Monday night. I'm going over for my primetime play on Monday.
All right. Well, I'm going to make you guys go somewhere else because these glasses are here so we can learn a little something from my guy, Ralph Michaels, on this week's TNA. Week 15, Ralph, where has the time gone? I know you've got some interesting TNA for us over the next couple of weeks with teams who have already clinched playoff spots and so forth, but this week is tough. What have you dug up for us?
Well, Kelly, we always start with streakers, and it's pretty embarrassing that my son had to point out to me. He goes, should I start including streaks of 3 games or more? Which makes sense because once you have a streak of 4 or 5 games, Kel, the value's gone. The public has caught on. So if we're mentioning the 3-game streaks, perhaps we can still jump on a team that has switched gears and still get some value. So you see now, ATS wins The longest winning streak against the spread, 3 games. The Bears, the Giants, and the Rams. 3-game ATS losing streak, the Washington Commanders. Take a look at the overs. Kelly, I think there was 8 weeks we did not have one team that had at least 4 straight overs. Well, now the Commanders are 4 straight overs. 3 straight overs for the Browns, Buccaneers, Colts, Dolphins, Packers, and Rams. Chargers, 4 straight unders. Boy, is that ugly. And the Minnesota Vikings with 3 straight unders. We'll see that happens if Cousins takes over. I do want to mention, Kel, we've never seen this many over-under streaks. So I went to the database. The first 11 weeks of the regular season, the over-unders in the first 164 games were 60.7% to the under. In the last 3 weeks, overs 52, unders 36, that's 59.1%. So the streaks make sense. There has been a bunch more scoring than we've had previously. Joe, you showed us a preview of my chart, Kelly, and as the season progresses now, teams get more tired, right? So I wanted to look at how teams do after Monday games. We happen to have 2 Monday games this past week. So the left-hand column are all games since 2017 when teams played on Monday night and are playing the following Sunday with no bye. That's the overall record. Then we have the record if they're playing at home the following Sunday and if they're playing on the road the following Sunday. So in September, does it make sense that teams off a Monday night game are 44%? I'll throw this out. I don't know if this is the reason, but early in the year, you're still trying to get your offense in sync. You're still working on your defense. Being off a Monday night game gives you 1 less day of practice, so the teams did not play well in September off a Monday night. October and November, teams are healthier. You know the offense, you know the defense, and you see their performance. But take a look at December games off a Monday night game. You see that overall they're only 43.9%. And take a look to the right, Kelly. Since 2017, a road team that played on Monday night without a bye, only 11-19, 36.7%. And if that team is an away dog, they are 31% against the spread going all the way back to 2014. So this week it applies to the New York Giants. Next week it applies to Seattle. And week 17 it applies to the Raiders and 49ers. So we'll see if that continues to fade road teams off a Monday night game in the month of December.
That is very interesting. Not that I needed a reason to fade more teams here, Ralph, but give me some trends, angles, and situations for this week in the NFL.
5 of them, Kelly. There's a lot of times I talk about motivated teams that are off a loss as a favorite or a winning team. Not a huge sample size, but going back to 2015, if you are off a shutout loss, like the LA Raiders have done, doesn't matter if you're at home, doesn't matter if you're away, doesn't matter if you're a favorite, doesn't matter if you're dog. If you are off an NFL shutout loss, teams have gone 30, 13-2, 69.8%. That is a play on the Las Vegas Raiders. System number 2, you are off a big win as a dog. Not only did you pull the upset, you won the game by 17 or more points, and now you're an away dog of 4.5 points or more. You're off the big upset. You're the inferior team on the road. Those teams, like the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets, 25, 48-2, 34.2%. System 2 says to fade Denver and fade the Jets. System 3, you are off a loss as a favorite. Your opponent is off a win as a dog, and now you're a home favorite up to -9.5. So if you're a double-digit favorite, you've done well in this situation or better. But if you're off a loss as a favorite, you're a single-digit home favorite, and your opponent is off a win as a dog, those teams have gone 29.3% since 2010. 3 teams are in that fade situation today, fade Detroit, fade the Packers, and fade the Dolphins. You see the Dolphins on the opposite end of then. One situation before says fade the Jets. This one says to fade the Dolphins. 2 more to go. You previously won as a dog of 6 or more, and now you're a dog of 6 or more again. That's simple. You're off an upset as a big dog. You're a big dog again. The New York Giants and the Arizona Cardinals fit this situation. It has gone 22 and 57, 27.8%. Fade the Giants, fade the Cardinals. And the final one. You're off a win as a dog. 2 weeks ago, you won as an away dog, and now you're on the road. So you won as an away dog. Last week, you won as a dog, either home or away. You're traveling again this week on the road. This is actually an over-under system. The Bears and the Browns are the one game this applies to, and the over-under record, 17 overs, 43 unders, and 3 pushes since 2007. That is a 71.7% system on the under. So, Raiders, a play on off a shutout loss. Broncos and Jets, fade situation. Lions, Packers, and Dolphins, a fade situation. Giants and Cardinals, a fade situation. And the Bears and Browns in an under situation, helping you navigate this week in the NFL trend-wise.
You can get all of Ralph's nerd charts over on his Instagram now, at Ralph Michaels WT. Don't try to DM him because I'm not going to respond. Ralph, we'll see you next week. Appreciate all your hard work every single week here on Beta. Let's kick Ralph out of here and bring in Andy Lane for some Prop Shop. Off another winner, because Andy, well, that's just what he does, is gives us prop winners. This week, Andy, I didn't give you a very good game for my best bet. Well, let's put it this way. Half of it is a good team. The other half is, well, not so much. And we'll get into that here in a minute. But let's go into the Thursday night game so we can get a bet on this lovely hot garbage game between the Chargers and the Raiders.
Well, yeah, I knew I wanted to take a quarterback over his passing yards. Like, oh, Brock Purdy? No. Dak Prescott? No. Josh Allen? No. Patrick Mahomes? No. Easton Stick? You betcha. Give me Easton Stick over 198.5 passing yards. I think we got a couple things going on here. The first is that the Raiders just are not very good against the pass. And I think they threw him off the set last week. Dobbs was completely terrible. Mullins comes in. So combined, they only got to about 170 yards. But before that, Patrick Mahomes threw for 300 yards against this team. Tua threw for 325, and Zach Wilson threw for 263. And when we look at Easton Stick, I love this short week that they don't have any film on him. I think that's advantage Chargers a little bit. And Stick had a preseason game that he played start to finish. It was against the Saints. All the backups were in, but he still threw for 233 yards. He wasn't playing with Keenan Allen and those guys. The other thing is this Chargers team, they just can't run the ball. 63 yards per game the last 3 games. They cannot run the ball. Raiders are much better defending the rush than they are the pass. And Kelly, we've seen some of these backup quarterbacks come in and go over their total. Jake Browning has gone over a couple weeks. Joe Flacco has been flying over. There's something to be said about these guys that come in and just don't really have anything to lose. I think Easton Stick, this number is kind of in that zone where the books don't really know what to do. So, well, just put him around 200 yards. I think he gets over here against a bad Raiders pass defense. Good
grief. I mean, I knew it was going to be bad. I just didn't know it was going to be that bad. But let's hope it's a winner nonetheless. I already alluded to the game which my best bet would be involved in, and that would be the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots. So you have a, prop bet for us.
Yeah, I love your bet. And I'm gonna kind of piggyback off that and take the Chiefs under 23.5 on their team total.
Ooh.
Yeah, they didn't even average it this year, 22.5 points per game, and that includes a 40-plus point game against the Bears. They only averaged 21 on the road. They scored 20 last week against Buffalo, 19 against Green Bay, 17 against Philly. They did have 31 against Raiders. All 4 of those games are after the bye. And this is a Patriots defense that has really, really played well. Since the bye week, the Patriots have allowed 10 points to the Giants, 6 to the Chargers, 18 to the Steelers. That is second best in the league the last 3 weeks. Since the bye week, they've only allowed 4.5 yards per play. That's 5th best in the NFL. And the Chiefs, Pacheco's out. They only rushed the ball 18 times last week. Mahomes only threw for 271 and 1 touchdown. This Patriots offense is not very good, but their defense is playing really, really well. I do think the Chiefs win this game, but I think it's really, really close. And this is a game that the Chiefs may not have to score a lot of points to win. I could see a low-scoring game. And when you get that low-scoring game, those 9 points are huge. But I think this Patriots defense shows up again. This is not a high-powered Chiefs offense. Give me the team total under 23.5 on Kansas City.
I thought you were going to come in with something funny like under or over 9.5 drop passes or something like equally hilarious. But I will take this team total under. That makes it 9 points even more valuable. Thank you to Andy Lang at Bump Sports on Twitter for all of his great insight here on Bet On It. We're going to go back to the boys, and I don't know if you know what that noise is, but Joe Raineri, how high are you, Joe? Are you there? Hello?
Well, Cal, spot on here. It is a good week to be high here. Great weekend, week 15. Will also be my birthday weekend, so how fitting that I am going to get as high as humanly possible in the Rams and the Commanders this weekend here, guys. Sorry, not high enough at this number of 49 and a half. So the Commanders, obviously a little well-rested here, an opportunity maybe to make one final push towards the end of the season and not be considered the total losers that they are. However, the Rams, man, they are battling here, people. It's another one of these 6-win teams that is trying to do everything in their power to remain relevant in the playoff hunt. And they are certainly going to be able to put up points on this Washington defense. Artie, I don't think any of us are concerned, at least we shouldn't be, because look what they just did to Baltimore there, putting up, 30-some-odd points there on the Ravens. They're not going to have a problem scoring here on Washington. And I tell you, I don't think Sam Howell and Washington is going to have a hard time contributing enough points against this Rams team indoors to be able to help this thing get into the 50s, which is ultimately where I see it going here. I think the number is not high enough here. I do expect the Rams to continue to keep their foot on the gas, and I do think a little rest will help Sam Howell and company here. I expect them to contribute at least 17 to 20 points in this game. That's going to put me firmly over the number of 49, which is where I'm going with this one.
All right. Joe thinks this one is not high enough. Marco, I forgot to look at the Slack channel and see if you had a trap game or a sandwich, but I can tell you this. It's 3 o'clock on the East Coast. I have not eaten today. It better be a damn sandwich.
It is a sandwich, Kelly, and it's a big old sandwich. Might not be that tasty for you, but it's a sandwich. We're going against it. It's a beautiful sandwich spot. The New York Giants are in a horrible spot this week. We saw what they did on Monday Night Football. They shocked the Green Bay Packers with Tommy DeVito as quarterback. Come on. His mom made his bed, sent him off to the stadium, and, he won a game, national pride time. With a couple things going there. One, he had 2 weeks to prepare for that game. They came out. They were ready. Two, they caught Green Bay off of a big game. The week before, Green Bay played Kansas City on a primetime Sunday night game, and Jordan Love had the game of his career. Sound familiar? Well, Tommy DeVito had the game of his career, although short career. It was one hell of a game, and they upset the Packers in primetime. Now they got to go on the road and play a Saints team that's in a dogfight in the NFC South. 3 teams battling down there. Atlanta and Tampa Bay, along with the Saints, they got to hold serve, and this is a game they got to win, and Tommy DeVito won't have the luxury of extra time to prepare. Actually, he'll have a short week coming off of Monday, and now there's more film on him. The Saints will be better prepared. Don't expect him to have those big gaping runs this week. They'll leave somebody home to protect from that. I like the Saints here. They're a team that's flying under the radar. Derek Carr, the guy that got railroaded out of Vegas, he's found a home in New Orleans. He's doing enough to get this team some victories when he can stay upright. That offensive line's not protected him well this year, but I like him in this one. I'm going to go with New Orleans as the sandwich game of the week. And what makes the second half of that sandwich? Well, you're off of Green Bay on prime time. And oh, who do you have next? The Philadelphia Eagles for the Giants. Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'm going to take the Saints as my sandwich game of the week.
Oh boy, Marco, I too like the Saints. And if I was still alive in Survivor, they would have been my play this week. I'm going to kick it right back to you for my favorite segment. And of course, barking dogs.
Well, Kelly, the game that I'm going to use for my barking dog, I could have used as a trap game. One, I knew you were hungry, so we came with the sandwich. And two, I got tired of listening to you about size matters. You know, I've got a little bit of a complex going right now. So I had to bring a little bigger dog to the party. And I'm coming in with Washington Commanders plus 6.5. How's that? Is that big enough? We're going to go with Washington here. And this is one of my angles that I like to look at. And I tell it to you all the time. Teams that go into the bye week on bad notes generally come out with a good game. We saw last week the Giants, who are having a horrible season, they came out 2 weeks to prepare. What'd they do? They upset Green Bay. We got Washington. Can you go into the bye week any worse than they are on that 4-game losing streak, just getting absolutely blown out in all of the games? Who is going to want Washington this week, especially after the Rams went up and down the field against Baltimore last week? They lose a shootout in overtime, 37-31. I generally like to fade favorites that are coming off a good-looking loss because the knee-jerk reaction by the betting public is, oh, wow, they're going to bounce back. Look at how good they looked in losing. Also, I especially love to go against teams that lost in overtime and then as a favorite the next week. Another thing, it says take the Rams. With all of that said, why has Vegas kept this number at 6.5? Why didn't they just bring out the old 7? They kept it under a touchdown. There's a reason. I'm going to go ahead and take Washington in this one. I think they find enough offense against the Rams defense to stay in this game. And if they got a chance late, and it's a team that's got nothing to lose, they can take risk, and maybe Riverboat Ron will gamble a few times and it'll pay off. I'm going to go ahead and call for the upset. Washington 27-24, a big 6.5-point underdog just for you, Kelly.
I appreciate your effort here, Marco, but I cannot trust Riverboat Ron, and that has not been his nickname for a long time. That being said, I will cheer for you. Joe Raineri, I'm going to guess you don't have a bigger dog, but maybe you have one that will actually have a chance to win outright.
Well, I actually, well, you know, size does matter here. I don't know if you heard that lately, but I appreciate Marco coming in. What was it? That 6, right? Okay, that was nice, Marco. I'm going to come in. Let's just double it, shall we? And let's take a look at the Arizona Cardinals here. Because that's ultimately where we are going to be looking here with this 49ers team. They did pretty good against somebody's team oh yeah, that's right. They took down Pittsburgh in a dog spot there. So ultimately they did a pretty good job, Cal, of beating Marco's Pittsburgh Steelers there. And I think we can all agree this is exactly the kind of spot here now that you got to scratch your head with the 49ers and go, yeah, they let Seattle hang around a lot with a backup quarterback, which is ultimately why they were able to stay within that original number. Now they're going to be, up to 13 and a half, maybe even 2 touchdowns against Kyler Murray and Arizona, which, quite honestly, we can all admit now, it's not his first or second game back. There's no more rust. This is a much different Arizona squad with him under center than without here. I don't know. I'd like to think Arizona's got a really good shot here to pull the outright upset, but I am way confident of them keeping this thing within 2 touchdowns here and possibly at the end being able to pull the outright upset. So your 6 was nice, Marco, but if we're going to do this, let's go big or just go home.
Go big or go home. That sounds like somebody else I know. Never mind. Bad jokes over here on Wager Talk. Who doesn't have bad jokes? Las Vegas Cris. Let's see what he's got for us this week in the NFL.
Week 15, NFL is here. Recapping last week, I left you guys with some options for 10-point teasers. I mentioned San Francisco. That was good, but the line moved pretty quick. I said both sides of the Buffalo-Kansas City were good. I mentioned the Chargers were a good option if you wanted them. I didn't really like them, and they didn't win. And I said Green Bay did not belong being that favorite, and they were good to plus 3.5, and that came in. So a little bit of success, but I did cop out with an official play. I have 2 great topics today. First of all, mistake lines. I've had a lot of people contact me recently about lines that are off in their accounts. A mispriced prop or something like that. What are you supposed to do? You basically have a handful of options. You either ignore it, you can notify the place, you can slam all your money home and pound it, or you can just play small and play your normal amount, make sure it doesn't stick out. So I have personally in the past benefited greatly and enhanced my relationships with people by notifying them of mistakes. Depends on your relationship. If you deal with the guy in the corner that gave you a place, well, then that gets you some, pat on the back and some appreciation. So that might be a good thing for you to go out and just notify your guy that you know. Ignoring it is never wrong. Slamming it in, I think that's a very bad idea because you risk losing that out or severely limited, and it's just a bad idea. It looks bad for you, and 90% of the time it blows up against you. It's just not worth the one-time thing, and they can void the bet on you anyway. So playing just small, your normal amount is not going to get you red flagged more than likely. They do have the ability to just know all the accounts that had this bad line and wipe them anyway. So my recommendation is to either ignore, notify, or play your normal amount that it won't stick out. It doesn't make you look like you were trying to take advantage of anything, and you're probably okay. But I would not try to make a killing off of it. It just is, it's not a good idea. It is the final run of contests, and we're going to go a different direction, not what you think as far as strategies go. As far as strategies go, I will make a few comments, and it depends on the contest that you're in, but it's really important if you're in a position to cash or getting near the end. You should have done this before you entered the contest, but this is the time to read the rules carefully and make yourself aware of anything that you don't know. Tiebreakers, options that you had that you don't know. I don't know what could possibly be there, but know your rules. And there are options on what you're going to do as far as your frame of mind. I mean, you should, if you had the ability, go and see what the other people have been selecting and see if you can get patterns of how they have been playing. Are they cautious? Are they always on the popular sides? Are they playing defense? What are their available remaining teams if it's a survivor? You can gain a lot of insight by trying to put together and categorize the people that are around you. That's a great benefit because it will come in handy because I've been in plenty of final outcomes, and you have to know what to expect from the people surrounding you. You don't want to just be on your own. You're going to get some sort of an edge by knowing who you're playing against. Hedging, you have to be very careful with. It's very tempting to find ways to hedge, and I don't have a simple answer to that because every contest is different. You just have to be really careful. The biggest mistake one can make is hedging too much. You can never hedge too little, probably, but hedging too much can get you in real hot water. And I've actually made a mistake like that. In Last Man Standing, I was over hedged because people did not drop out. If people are not automatically lost every week, well, that makes it very hard to hedge. So what about agreements? Just came up. That's why I'm doing this topic, talking about it on Twitter. What happens when it gets down to the end and people want to chop? A lot of people were angry when I suggested, well, people can just work together. And that's what happens. And that's what happens in every single contest. There's probably 50% of the people in high dollar contests that have partners of some sort. And you have to realize that. So Circa Survivor, for example, you're talking about they're down to a handful of people, a dozen people or so. I don't know what the exact number is. You're talking about a lot of money, almost $1 million worth of, technical worth. That's not worth anything until it wins. No matter what your contest is, it is important that you have legal documentation and a legal contract drawn up. It sounds silly. Trust nobody. There is absolutely no casino or official regulated business that's going to pay somebody else. And they don't want to get involved in your private deals. They don't want to know anything about it. That's not their business. Their business is to pay out the winner only. And you can come up with your private agreements, but if you don't have your butt covered, and even if you do have your butt covered, you just never know what people are going to do. So be very careful about making agreements with other people. And also understand that if you don't make agreements to chop, well, then those people can actually work in unison amongst themselves and have an unfair advantage over you if you were, playing against them. Is that fair? Well, I don't know. If they offered to you to chop and you didn't want to chop, well, then I guess it's fair. You chose to go on. But those other people, they can make their own side deals. They can do whatever they want. Every single contest, every single poker tournament has people that work together. You should know this. In a poker tournament, people dump off chips to each other. They have signals. There's all kinds of ways to do it. And in regular betting contests, people work together. They know what the other person's going to do, and they make it much harder for you to be able to win. So just something to be aware of. Let's see what else we have. One thing about private contests, if you don't know this already, you should know this before you get in them. But if there's somebody managing a private contest, you want it to be in a way where a person or two does not have an unfair advantage of them knowing what your pick or picks are and be able to share that information with their buddy, or maybe they're in the contest themselves and they can use that information. Knowing what other people's picks are is crucial. If you know what somebody else's picks are in a contest that's coming down to the wire, you're screwed. And so that would be my number one concern playing in a private contest. So if you're already involved and you have a concern with that, maybe there's some steps you can take going forward from here to ensure that there's no unfair advantages against you. Private contests can be very dicey. I'm sure there's more stuff that I'm not thinking of, but those are just some things to consider when you're dealing with private contests. As far as a free play, I'm always on these parlays and I'm always on the teasers. I really like the Detroit Lions Saints money line parlay. I think that's minus 103. And a good 3-team teaser that I like, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, and Dallas. So I hope everybody has a great week. See you next week.
Thank you to Las Vegas Cris at Las Vegas Cris on Twitter. Don't forget, first-time LVC NFL customers can take $20 off his $49 all-access NFL pass for this week. That's right, using coupon code LVC20 and checking out. Let's kick it on over to another guy who has been absolutely crushing it. That's right, VR and his NFL Gold. What do you got for us this week, Greek Gambler?
All right, thank you, guys. We got a ton of NFL Gold. Here's why. Bowl games are upon us. Wise Guy's already firing. I personally released 5 premium plays already. Those of you that have jumped on for the bowl season, hopefully we crush it like we did in the regular season. Finish number 1 in profit, over 8% ROI in college football. Well, we're talking NFL today. And like I said, with college football, pretty much bowl season here, a lot of steam already in the NFL. Here we go. Start off with game 301. Chargers, Raiders, over 33.5, over 34, over 34.5. Lot of steam on that over. Expecting points there. I agree. Move over to 303 Minnesota. Here's why this one's sticking out to me. First group comes in, takes Minnesota, at plus 3.5 and Minnesota money line. Gets down to 3. Another group comes in, lays the 3 with Cincinnati. Personally, the Minnesota and money line groups doing much better in NFL so far this year. And finally, 323, Washington plus the 7. Couple more plays. We're not done. 305, Pittsburgh Steelers plus the 3. Steelers on the money line and the over 39.5, over 40. 307, Atlanta Falcons minus 2.5, minus 3 at even money and under 38.5, under 38, under 37.5. Told you I had a lot. 313, under 43. Tampa Bay, Green Bay, that was the cutoff. Then 316, Tennessee minus the 1. Pick 'em, plus the 1. All over around that minus 1, plus 1 number, minus 115 money line, loading up on that Tennessee side. Surprised we're not seeing it at a field goal just yet. Game 317, over 36.5 and 37. New York Giants, New Orleans. Game 320, under 40, 39.5, 39 and 38.5. Jets, Miami. 322, Arizona plus 13.5 against San Francisco. Didn't even wait for 2 touchdowns. And finally, Wise Guy special every week. It's the New England Patriots. This time, multiple hits at 10 minus 15, plus 9.5, and plus 9. There you go. A lot to work with. Remember, isolate those positions you agree with. There's some manipulation going on, some legit gold going on. And whether you follow or fade, I hope you cash them. Don't trash them.
Thank you to VR, as always, for his contribution here on Bet On It. He is the best at Greek_Gambler on Twitter. Make sure you guys are giving him a follow. So on that note, you guys know what time it is, and it's time for those best bets. Let's see if we can't keep them cashing. This one's gross. I know everybody's going to say this is a buy low spot on Kansas City, who has dropped 4 of their last 6 straight up. But New England, I think, really turned a corner there in Pittsburgh. I like this team with Bailey Zappi under center, and I really like taking the better defense plus the points here. Bill Belichick's not going anywhere just yet. And I think the bottom has fallen out in Kansas City. They are panicking. And when have you ever seen Patrick Mahomes throw a fit like that on the field? Come on, man. That doesn't scream something is wrong in paradise. I don't know what does. So give me the Patriots plus the 9 and what I think is going to be a low-scoring affair. Marco D'Angelo, what is your best bet for NFL Week 15?
Well, Kelly, before I get into my best bet, just a quick reminder, if you missed the college football show, check it out. We are going for great year this year with the best bets on college football. 12-2 I went. Going to get number 13 this week. And if you check it out, you can get all of my bowl games for just $99. Check that special out over on my homepage at wagertalk.com. All right, guys, let's get to the NFL best bet. Kelly, I'm going to go to big game this week. It is Dallas and Buffalo. And both teams are coming off big wins last week. Now, Dallas, they won in grand fashion. They trounced the Philadelphia Eagles. Buffalo, well, they were in a little tougher battle with the Kansas City Chiefs that you just talked about. And, a little controversial, flag or no flag. Hey, it is what it is. It was offsides. Sorry, Patrick, but that's the rules. But for the Buffalo Bills this week, we say it all the time. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Chris Berman used to say that all the time. And here they are once again. People thought they were dead in the water. They're right back in the playoff race. And I'm going to ride them here against the Cowboys. Why? Yeah, I know Dallas looks good, but Dallas played the monster game, the game they absolutely had to have last week. Why? Because they're trying to win the NFC East. If they would have lost last week, they would have been 2 games behind Philadelphia, but in essence, it would have been 3, and the race for the division would have been over. Now they got that win. I'm looking for a little bit of a letdown. And let's be honest, Dallas has beat up on the teams that have had bad records or banged up. And we know that the Philadelphia Eagles right now are not playing their best football, and they are banged up. Now they got to go out on the road and play in Buffalo in December, late December, I might add. Good luck with that. Dak Prescott's had his way the last few weeks, but you know what? He's not going against the Giants' defense, Carolina's defense, Washington's defense, Seattle's defense, or that banged-up Philadelphia defense. He's going to face Buffalo this week, and I think he's going to have a lot of pressure put upon him. Give me Buffalo. Let me lay the points. I think this is a small number because of the big numbers that Dallas is putting up offensively. But again, they're facing a much better team and defense in the Buffalo Bills. I've got Buffalo. Let's call it 31-23. Buffalo Bills, my NFL best bet.
I like it. Marco was in the running for my best bet as well. All right, last but certainly not least, Joe Raineri, what is your best bet for this week?
All right, well, we ended up cashing last week with a best bet, and I think this week I like this one a lot too, because I love this situation where you get to buy low on teams that I think aren't nearly as bad as they showed a week ago, and it might very well be in people's minds here recency bias with the Green Bay Packers and just how absolutely putrid they looked against the New York Giants. Now, what was really putrid about that game was the spot for the Green Bay Packers here. They were the Giants coming off of their bye week, right? Green Bay had just come off its biggest win of the season. They got to go into a primetime spot. They're not the more rested team. All of it was just not a great situation. Doesn't excuse how absolutely pathetic they were on special teams, defense, and offense, but it all broke down at the same time, and I think this is a perfect spot for them to bounce back at home, taking on a Tampa Bay Bucs team where you want to talk about smoke and mirrors. I'm still not quite sure how in the hell they won that game last week, but give them credit. They ended up winning it even though they were, outgained across the board against the Atlanta Falcons last week. But now they got to go to Lambeau to take on a pretty pissed off Green Bay team that is going to play, I think, much better in all 3 facets of the game. This team got embarrassed in prime time, losing to some chicken cutlet, all right, that is not going to sit well in that locker room all week long. I think they'll be just fine at home in this spot. I think the field goal that you're having to lay right now, I think it's cheap. I think this should have been a bigger number. So I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers to get that disgustingness out of there, that taste in their mouth from that chicken cutlet they got shoved down their throat in prime time. I think they get back, and Baker Mayfield, no better way to get right than against Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucs. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers for our best bet.
Yay! We made it. What a show today. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we always do filming it. Let's get that recap graphic up. That way you guys can cheat instead of watching the entire show that was so awesome. You're only hurting yourselves. So if you at least did that, jump in the comment section, give us some love, tell us you love us, tell us you hate us. Don't care. Just talk to us. I don't know what else I was going to say. I'm losing it. Thank you guys for a wonderful week. I've already said that. Now I'm ready to go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Again, hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show. From Joe, Marco, VR, Chris, Ralph, Andy, and of course, myself. We will catch you guys on the flip side for NFL Week 16. Until then, let's bet on it.